what is your current family situation? How old are your kids now? And
Yeah, so I've got 4 kids, two sons and 2 daughters. We thought we were going to just have the 2, but extra bottle of red wine and weekend in Paris, twins. That'll learn you. So instant family. Eldest is 18-year-old lad, just left school, and then a 14-year-old lad who's into bodybuilding, and 2 identical 12-and-a-half-year-old twin girls.
Right.
Married to Kate for 21 years. Never had an argument.
Yeah.
I'm currently, as they say in the trade, between jobs. I'm writing and speaking, doing the Sydney Skinny, and Kate's working. So a bit of a sort of reversal of the traditional gender, or the conventional, whatever the PC word is, the olden days gender roles.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, do you think you're in between jobs? I mean, it's a job and it's...
Yeah, I mean, for me, I am... I mean, you read the book, so yeah. I had a conventional career until I was 40. I was that classic corporate warrior, eating too much, drinking too much, working too hard.
Yeah.
4 kids under the age of 5. Life was... It was like the First World War trenches. It was hand-to-hand sort of fighting, and then I lost my job. And I was 3 stone heavier than I am now. I had a face within a face. Alcoholic, unemployed, 40-year-old ad man. So it's a bit of a wake-up call, and for many men it takes, which is part of what I do in my speeches, it takes something, the big 4, a divorce, a redundancy, a bereavement or an illness, to make you properly reflect.
Yeah.
And that was the case for me. You think, hold on, what am I doing? What am I doing? Pause for a moment, you wretched weakling, take stock of your miserable existence. Have a think about, this is not a joke. You are only here once. Having a career, and moderately successful, having a successful career that leads to a lonely old age full of regret isn't clever. It's fucking stupid, right? So I need to think about the next 40 years. So I've got no complaints about the past, but how do I want to design the next 40 years? And not think that you can have what you want, but you are allowed to think about what you want, because then you can aim towards that, rather than, one of my mantras is decide, don't slide. It's very easy to slide into a life, especially in a society that glorifies overwork. So we've all heard it in I've run big companies, and you hear people say, oh, Amanda's amazing. She's always the first here, she's the last to leave, she works all weekends and she never takes her holidays. And people think that's heroic, and I think it's moronic. It's not heroic, it's moronic. I mean, unless Amanda has sat down and decided that what she wants to do is, in which case that's perfectly fine. It's all about, for me, it's about conscious choice. And you can get addicted to the busyness, you get rewarded and glorified for the overwork, and then I've had 16,000 emails, I write back to every single one. I take it just like you writing to me. I write back to every single person. I take it really seriously. I think it's an honour and a privilege that they ever bother to write to me, so I write back to all of them. And some of those people say, I'm 66, I'm on my 3rd marriage, I don't know the names of any of my children's friends, I'm lonely, and what am I supposed to say? I mean, I try my hardest to be nice, but if someone writes to me and they're 33, maybe you can give them a couple of pointers. And this doesn't mean don't work hard, doesn't mean life isn't full of... Another one of my mantras is life is constant white water. The Buddhist phrase, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. I mean, there's no finish line. You're still going to be... life is always going to have challenges. That's, contentment is death, life is struggle, all those things. But you are allowed to choose what you struggle at. So anyway, so there's a long answer to your question. I do apologise.
No.
But it is... I sat down at that moment, and it helped me turning 40, because it's sort of... If it happened when I was 23, you go, we've all got to work very, very hard for the first 10 years of our life at something we may not like. But you go, well, I'm 40. I've got 4 kids, and I've done the 20 years working for the man. I'm now going to sit down and have a think about the type of man and father and husband I would like to be, and I'll turn the telescope around and put the things that are the most important to me at the centre of my life, not leave them sort of at the edge. About filling the jar with stones and then pouring water in. Whereas if you pour water in first, there's no space left for the stone. If you put stones in, the water trickles down. You go, do you know what? My family comes first, and in a realistic way. So then I'll think about. So that I gave a speech in Perth on last Tuesday. You're going, if you hated heights, you wouldn't be a pilot. If you hated blood, you wouldn't be a surgeon. If you hated children, you wouldn't be a teacher. Hopefully, but the same thing applies for me to being a parent. So if it's not by mistake, but if you plan to have them and you've got 4 kids, why would you have them if you then plan, strategically your life around a lifestyle that would make it impossible to be meaningfully engaged with them? I mean again, everyone can do whatever they want. So I was talking about myself.
Yeah.
You go, so I've had 4 kids and I'm going to decide on a career and a job and a lifestyle. And you think, I'll never see them.
Yeah, it couldn't take you further away from...
So it's like people, and again, I'm not being judgmental, I'm just talking about me, right? But I see people's dog being walked by dog walkers, which is fine, but that dog there, but why have it if you're so...
Yeah.
You might as well send it to someone else's house. I went to boarding school at the age of 5.
Yeah.
Love my mum and dad dearly, different era and all that sort of stuff. You go there. It's an interesting, the big hairy conceptual things is, if it's desperately important to you that you are home for kids' tea, then don't take a job that it's inherently the case that you won't be.
Yeah.
Right? And then you sort of move, there's 2 boxes. Do you want to ask another question? Are you having me
No, this is it. This is what we struggle with as men, this is it. This is...
So there's 2 boxes, and stop me at any time.
Yeah.
It is, because again, people write to me about this stuff, is you've got conceptual stuff, as in if you hate violence, don't be a boxer, right? So there's that stuff up there, and then you've got another box, which is you're in the real world and you've chosen a job like we all have to, and how do you make that better? So whenever I consult with anybody, you go, are you in just obviously the wrong job? You're a pacifist, don't join the army. Okay, so we sort that. But 90% of cases are, okay, you haven't made a stupid conceptual strategic decision, you're just struggling with the reality of day-to-day life. And my message for them is, don't give in to the philosophy of despair. So what happens is people go, and I've got them all in my study, people write saying, it's all right for you, but you don't understand in my situation, okay? And then they describe a situation that is 5 times easier than the other 100 people that have just written to me in the previous month, saying, I've got work-life balance and I am a emergency doctor in a theatre of war. I run a company that's got 35,000 employees and I travel 3 weeks out of every 4. Yeah. So what happens, it's a bit like, I haven't had a drink for 10 years, alcoholics, they go, I can't give up yet because I've got all these problems. Yeah. And you sort it when you say, do you know what, I'll give up now and then I'll be able to sort the problems. Yeah. So the people who work-life balance, which is a topic that's close to my heart.
I watched your speech on TED about work-life balance.
And I'll say this with love and empathy, is people can fall into the mistake of saying, I've got lots of stuff on at the moment. I've got young kids, busy job, so I can't do the balance thing now. I'll wait until the kids are left home, the wife's divorced me, and you go, no, you need to do it.
Yeah.
Now, in the eye of the storm, is the time when you need to be working on that stuff, because the irony of saying, phew, so I haven't got any. It's like me in my year off. I haven't got a job. I'm gonna do some back. Well, of course you can balance work and life, you numbnut, when you haven't got any work. You have to be an idiot not to. It's about how can you find that place in the real world, working in jobs with young kids. So the philosophy of despair is, I have never seen a situation that can't be improved. I don't mean solved, I mean improved. And there's a wonderful quote from Chekhov, which is, any fool can face a crisis. It's day-to-day living that's the real challenge. So for me, it's about the small things. It's not about the dramatic grand gestures where you sell your house and you live in a cave, or you resign your job and you become a poet. It's not about that. It's how and again, it differs for each situation, but turn your phone off at 9 o'clock at night. Pick something unbelievably small that other people would have to self-define themselves as an arsehole to disagree with.
Yeah.
I'm going to have one meal with my family a fortnight. Right? So if there's a big boss, you say you shouldn't be doing that, Alex, well then you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, how could that be? I'm not saying I'm going to go home at 3 o'clock every afternoon. I'm saying once a fortnight I'm going to have kids' tea. So it gives you the confidence to stick up for that small little thing.
Yeah.
And then the small changes consistently applied over time transform the quality of your life and the quality of relationships. So the example I give, and then I'll let you ask another question, is if you were sailing a steamboat from Sydney to Los Angeles, and as you came out of the Sydney heads, you changed the direction of the boat by 1 degree. after a kilometre, the boat would basically be in the same place that it would have been if it hadn't changed. Yeah?
Yeah.
By the time it reaches the American landmass, it will be in Canada or Chile, not LA.
Yeah.
Because over time, that 1 degree change, and that's after a year of my midlife crisis, basically the same bloke, sober. Yeah. After 10 years, completely different man, totally different man with a totally different life.
Yes.
But I haven't done anything, miraculous. I mean, no way perfect, but done anything miraculous. But just those small changes over time, and then you add them in. If you turn I say to people, if you executives that work on a Sunday, or if you just make a small change, what you'll notice is the world doesn't stop revolving. You don't get fired. You're no less good at your job. So then you keep that one, and then you add another one in, and the same thing happens. But then after 2 years, you've put 15 changes into your life.
Yeah. Yeah. With only positive effects.
That's right.
With only massive positive effects.